Bitcoin. I need to say something when it comes to my philosophy or my thoughts within the years that has been passing by using cryptocurrency, exploring. I did some conferences as well. I know quite some geeks that are pretty deep within the code of certain type of coins and blah, blah, blah. And you need to dig also a little bit deeper within the conspiracy or in the, let's say, banking world, how they operate, how they think, how they've been performing in the past, what are the cycles, and what is the mindset of the ones that are steering our realm, right? So the controllers of our realm are magicians. How can they have so much power when we are with like 99% of the people and the power is in the hands of the 1%? They can use magic, right? So that's the only way it's going through the mind. And they got us pretty bad there when it comes to Bitcoin. You know, they created very well a savior when they knew our system will fail, which is the central banking system. Starting of the 70s, when there was a depeg of the gold standard, when in 71, with President Nixon saying we're gonna depeg the dollar from the gold. At that point on, they start money printing, and the increasement of loans got really high, and also the real estate prices. So real estate actually was a good protection for inflation. From that point on, they started to print money, but at the end, there must be an end point, and that's what they knew it's going to happen. So they had to foresee some kind of a phoenix rising from the ashes, which you can see in the Economist magazine cover. I think somewhere in the 80s, but I'm not sure. I think it was 88, if I'm correct. It's a very famous cover, and a lot of people are trying to find an explanation of what kind of coin has the eagle around his neck here when he was rising as a phoenix from burning dollars. But the Phoenix is actually a new control system, or our old Phoenix, let's say, it was the central banking system, from my opinion, from what I understood. And the new Phoenix will be blockchain technology. It's a very good way to reconnect or have like an upgrade of the internet and have like a new way of hooking up computers. And from that point on, there's a possible way to exchange value and to have like a bookkeeping system in order to manage the economy worldwide. So we don't need those institutions and banking systems anymore once everything is settled within a blockchain-based ecosystem. It will take 10 years for sure. So Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, it's a secret founder, right? Some people claim it's a group of cyberpunks, blah, blah, blah. I have 7 points. One is Roger Ver, 2, Bitcoin Cash, 3, layer 2, let's say the Lightning Network, 4, custodial wallets, 5, mining difficulty rate, 6, numerology code, and 7, privacy. So I have 7 points to explain. First of all, Roger Ver, very interesting guy. He was there from the very beginning, early stage with Bitcoin. He was the founder also of, not really the founder, but he was, involved within the launch of Bitcoin Cash. But he was called back in the days, in the very early days of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Jesus. And he was doing a very good job to explain people that this will be our savior and this will be the replacement of the money system and blah, blah, blah. But once he got, let's say, track of what is actually happening, when Bitcoin came to a certain point that they have to scale the blocks in order to have more transaction speed, right? Bitcoin can only perform 7 transactions per second. That's very, very low compared to Visa. It's a few thousands per second, right? So if you want to make like a worldwide currency and it can only do 7 transactions per second, you have a problem. So the solution was to scale the blocks to have more data possible within every block of 10 minutes with Bitcoin, with the blockchain of Bitcoin. So there was an issue, or there was some troubles within the community of Bitcoin, And that's why the fork occurred and they created Bitcoin Cash. And certain types of people or miners were not agreeable to change the base code of Bitcoin, so the code stays the same, and some others wanted to change, so you can actually make a copy of the code and change the block size. So from that point on, the Bitcoin owners got the same amount of Bitcoin Cash, and the two ecosystems started to exist parallel from each other, and there was, Bitcoin Cash to be born. But the owners of, or the miners from the early stages within Bitcoin were very conservative. They didn't want it to change. But there was an involvement of Blockstream and some other development companies that actually prevented the increasement of blocks. But at the end, who is actually involved within Blockstream, right? And there's a video, an explanation of Roger Ver, also saying that some kind of a way the CIA of other big entities, big corporations, elites got involved within Blockstream and other conservative groups of the miners that withhold the change of the code of Bitcoin. And that's the point, Bitcoin Cash came along with the intentions to have a really good decentralized Bitcoin within its first layer possible to have more transactions per second, okay? That's where, secondly, the Lightning Network came along, and that's the second layer on the existing layer of Bitcoin. So you have here the 7 transactions per second, then you have the Lightning Network who can do many transactions per second, and at the end there's a settlement on the first layer. I explained that also within our courses. So I think you can actually you can research more than enough to how Lightning Network works. But what is my issue there? The nodes. So you have like the first layer. You have a node, and that node has a certain amount of Bitcoin, and within that node you can actually transact very fast the Bitcoin transactions. But the question is, who controls those nodes, first of all. Secondly, if you want to manage your Bitcoin and you need to do high-speed transactions, you can only do that if you have, let's say, a custodial wallet within, that is pegged to that node. So you don't actually manage your own private keys. So these exchanges or these wallet managers that actually provide those custodial wallets, they are part of the club, and they can actually manage as much as they want. So if you don't own your private keys, you don't know how much Bitcoin they actually own, first of all. Secondly, they can actually trade fractional like the banks are doing. That's why they put Bitcoin up front, but at the end, most people that own Bitcoin doesn't own Bitcoin. They have a wallet and they have a login in that wallet, and a third party is organizing that money or Bitcoins, but nobody knows how much Bitcoin they actually own. So it's the same game all over again. They can print, they can create Bitcoins out of the blue, like there's no tomorrow, and nobody knows. So, and as long as Bitcoin is not really used as, let's say, a real currency everywhere, like many transactions per second daily, if that's not the case, then this hoax will not come to the surface. People will not realize from what I'm saying. You can only see this when you see through some history, when you think about the technical setup for this kind of way of transacting Bitcoin on the Lightning and second layer. So, and then there's the mining difficulty rate. So every halvening, there's a decreasement of Bitcoins that actually are released per block, right? So now we are at 6.2, I think, and we're going to 3.2. But the more miners in the field, the more difficult it gets. It's not possible for the average Joe to mine Bitcoin anymore. You need quite a bit of equipment. You need high investment. It's like big mining pools are actually mining Bitcoin. So to sustain the security and to sustain the whole network, it's very, very high maintenance when it comes to the mathematical calculating power the network needs to have in order to mine and in order to execute the transactions. So, and it becomes more and more difficult to mine Bitcoin. But at a certain point, it depends, of course, the value of Bitcoin. But at a certain point, it will be so difficult. It will cost so much electricity. It will cost so much equipment to mine or to maintain the network for Bitcoin. And the reward is only 3.2, and it will devalue again to 1.5. I know if there's no $300,000 Bitcoin price, it will be not valuable for the miner to maintain that position. So that's why, for example, like Monero, they have 0.3 Monero releasement of Monero per block. It's a different way to organize an incentive for the miners. But basically what I'm saying here, it's getting more and more difficult and too expensive to mine and maintain Bitcoin in the Bitcoin network. And I see a big issue there coming up. Not straight away this happening, but the other happening. So that will be a big issue. If there's no a few €100,000 or dollar value of Bitcoin, it will not be worth it to mine it, you know. It will be too difficult. It will be too costly. Then, 6, the numerology code. At that point, from that point on, I understood and I really had a confirmation there that the controllers of our reality, the controllers of the world, were actually behind the creation of Bitcoin. Because Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin itself, the Society of Jesus, which are the Jesuits, and these are like the army guys, or let's say the executors of the real powers behind the scenes, you know, everything refers to this. So it has the same numerology coded: the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, Satoshi Nakamoto, Saturn, Father Time, which is, you know, creating order and structure in our reality, in our 3D-dimensional world. But that goes back to the mythology or astrology, numerology. It's really deep. This is only for a few people to grasp or to, let's say, have respect for that kind of wisdom, because that goes beyond our physical, you know, from what we preserve and see and hear. But if you see the mythology and if you understand numerology, I understand a very, very little bit. I'm not a specialist here, but I appreciate and I know it's real. You know, the Greek mythologies, the big stories, and it's all coded within Hollywood and in the movies. And the Jesuits are real. The Black Pope is real. You know, these guys. You have to realize the politicians, they're only actors, like Trump or Bush or Putin. They're all the same bloodliners. They're all actors. They just have to do what is scripted for them to say. They have nothing to say, you know. And these wars, like war between Russia or Taiwan or the Second World War, it's all theater. It's all necessary to increase development, to create resets, to, you know, to destroy and to rebuild in a better way, or, you know, to develop, right? There was a lot of development after the Second World War. So they control that shit, right? You know, Adolf Hitler was also sponsored by Prescott Bush. It's everywhere. You can look for it. You know, I'm not, this is not a conspiracy. It's known. The tanks that they were using were Ford engines, you know, like a lot of American companies, they made a lot of money with the Second World War creating shit for the Nazis. So, and it's the same story with the whole story of creation of the new technology. They know what they are doing. Elon Musk is not our savior, you know, he's just one of the puppets that has his role, It's very simple. It's not easy. It's very easy once you see. Anyhow, what else? Where's my paper here? And then there's privacy, right? So when it comes to the store of value, when I see like utility coins or economical applications, they have, let's say, a certain economical use case. Transparency is very interesting when it comes to gaining trust and do worldwide business, right? That's very good. But when it comes to money or store of value, do you want to have, let's say, an audit of your savings, or everybody can see what is in your wallet? Because everybody who's a little bit aware when it comes to blockchain technology or the applications or whatever is built on, there's companies that do auditing for governments to see who's got what. There's no way there's privacy with Bitcoin, and they can create some kind of a coin join application, but when there's no privacy within the base layer, forget about it, So Chain Analysis is an example of a company that is doing auditing. So once your name is pegged to a public address, it's very easy to audit you, right? So everything is transparent. There's the one that has control over your money controls you. So I don't think that's a very good idea to have like money transparent. So voila, that's my take on Bitcoin in general. I'm a big fan of Monero. I don't have Monero anymore. I spent them a few years ago. And I see issues also with the fungibility of Monero. They will not allow us to use Monero. But at the same time, these guys, especially like the guys that have like, say, big accounts in Switzerland, they also have money to hide, right? So I don't know. I think privacy, and especially with the big entities there, they need privacy themselves. But from what I understood, they're going to create CBDCs for the average Joe, for us. But they're going to create also CBDCs for their own, to interact between big corporations. So there will be like two different kinds of currencies. Currency for the minions and currency for the elites, right? And these currencies for the elites, they're going to be able to transact within each other and between big corporations, unfortunately. So yeah, that's my take on Bitcoin, and don't think Bitcoin is your savior, but it has been used to create the acceptance of digital money, to create, let's say, awareness when it comes to managing digital assets, to have a lot of developers, being involved to make that, blockchain-based ecosystems. But now we are at the, let's say, just on up front, a big stress moment within our economy. We are 2023, halfway around April now when I'm making this video. I think there's going to be like a major crash in September, October. This is with the Jubilee year of the Shemitah cycle, the Hebrew calendar. That's why the Jews are rich. They know that shit. And there are going to be new coins to be launched. I heard from people that are really deep into that. And all these coins are like pretty much centralized. Like, for example, Ripple, XDC, Solana. Most of these smart contract platform coins are in hands of proof of stake coins, are centralized developed, right? So who owns that? So a lot of new projects coming up, also proof of stakes, pre-launching, but the majority of these coins are owned by certain type of people. Voila, that's my take. Unfortunately, I have to say what I have to say, but to my opinion, that's the truth, and I can say nothing but the truth, and I speak from the heart. But you know, we can ride some waves. We can take advantage. We can gain some value. We need to surf on the waves of the market. Don't forget, I see big things when it comes to utility tokens, commodity tokens, and security tokens. But when it comes to currency, too bad. Ciao.